All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to Akim, pushing his word in truth and in sincerity without charity on the brother Abba Yala. Coming at you another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kakodash. All right. And, today basically, this is going to be like an exhortation. Lord willing is edifying, because, coming at that time, man, where, our faith is constantly being tried, like Scripture says in Sirach, the 2nd chapter. When you come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. All right, that temptation, right, is a test, right, a test of character, a test of faith, right, a purification. All right, we're being tried as gold and silver is tried in the fire. All right, so are we when we go through adversity, man? That's a trial of our faith, man. When we catch in hell, all right, that's to purify the the imperfections and the impurities that we carry, being in this flesh, man. All right. What is scriptures in the, I think, 2 Peter or 1 Peter, the 4th chapter. Matter of fact, let me get it. Because the point of this lesson is that everything we're going through is just temporal, man. Once we see it for what it is, man, we start to see that Yahushua's yoke is light. His yoke is easy, right? What the scripture says, he said, be like me, for I'm humble and my yoke is easy. Roughly paraphrasing the scripture, right? Because what the Lord's setting in our mind is to be spiritual minded, right? When we in the spirit, all right, it's when our flesh is being put in subjection, all right. When we feel the spirit in us, man, the spirit gives us the power to put this flesh under subjection. At least we be a castaway, like the scripture says. At least we preach to other, we become a castaway. Because knowing is half the battle, man. It tells you in James, man, that don't just be hearers of the word, but doers. Right? And that's where the faith comes, man. Faith without works is dead. Right? Yes, we believe in Yahushua. Yes, we believe in this truth. But are we showing forth the actions, right? That prove that we believe, right? And that's why the Lord gives us, the afflictions that are pointing unto us, like it tells you in the book of Thessalonians, right? Like the brothers here in GMS always says, GMS Chicago always says that we have a tailored fit adversity, right? Just right for us, man. Okay, the Lord ain't gonna give you more than you can handle, all right? And when the furnace is hot, all right, when you're in the midst of the fire, man, the Lord always gives a way out. So that understanding that is being spiritually minded. Okay, the apostles this Saturday mentioned how Ezekiel's wife, right? Basically the Lord put her to death. And what the Lord said, it says what it says. I could get after the scripture, but basically, man, the Lord said, don't cry, don't mourn for her. You know what I'm saying? Is just keep on prophesying, keep doing what He has called us to do, or what He called them to do, right? And that's one heck of a battle, man. That's one heck of a trial, man. Ezekiel's, he was a man of the Lord, right? But the Lord put his wife to death, and the Lord commanded him to keep on preaching, and not to basically cry over her, right? Same with Abraham, man. The Lord requested him to sacrifice his son. And as he was faithful, man, the Lord delivered him, delivered his son, and provided a sacrifice. But it was the faith that Abraham had, right? He staggered not in faith, like it tells you in Romans. And during the trial, during the process, that's when the character is built, and that's when the Lord, sees, man, when you're in the fight, right? And that's what the Lord cares about. When you keep fighting this good fight of faith, that's when you keep on, keeping your hands up, so to speak, right? When everything's what I'm saying, when catching hell, everything's going, not your way. That's when the Lord, sees the man you are, the character you have, and you get built up through that, right? And that's how the Lord, builds you up, right? Through the trial, right? Because the elect is going to be presented as a chaste virgin, man, unspotted, right, without blemish. And how is that capable? Through the furnace. All right. So this is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 1. It says, "For as much then as Yahushua has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin." Okay. So we got to arm our mind as Yahushua did. He drank the cup, that the Most High gave them. All right. And he fulfilled it. He finished his course, man. That cup of affliction. Okay. Because it tells you in Ezra, second Ezra, all right, when it speaks about receiving our inheritance, before we do that, we gotta walk that narrow path where fire and deep water is in one side and in the other, right? And only one man could walk therein at a time, which represents what, man? Working out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Because we all, as brothers, what I'm saying, twofold, isn't easily broken, right? Two is better than one. We bear each other's burden, but at the end of the day, right? It is the individual that has to bear it, has to be tried, has to receive the lesson that the Lord's trying to teach you. Okay, the build up, the faith that is built up through the furnace of adversity, and each one gotta go through it by themselves, man. Now, of course, we got brothers, the brotherhood, right? Which Yahushua said, if you love me, all right, if you hate your brother, who you could see, all right, how can you love me, who you can't see? So yeah, the brotherhood is a testimony of faith as well, man. That's part of the restoration, being reconnected back to the Most High, via the brotherhood, right? Because that's the church of Yahushua. The church, it represents what, man? The Lord. So as we walk in this, in this path, we also have to care for the flock, like the scripture says. But at the end of the day, we all working, towards our own salvation with fear and trembling. So, going back to 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 2, it says that he no longer shall live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So, mortifying the deeds of the flesh, right? Setting aside the beggarly elements, creating what it says in, I'm just getting scripture tonight because the scripture says it better. Romans 12, and I'll start at the top. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. Right? This is the rational thing to do, right? When you present your body as a living sacrifice, right? That builds up your faith, man. That builds up your spirit and your mind. Okay. That it keeps your eyes single, because when you don't present yourself as a living sacrifice, then what happens? The flesh takes over. It's it says the heart is deceitful above all things, who could know it? So when that structure is not there, when that sacrifice, right? When you don't present your body a living sacrifice, then you're not walking that narrow path. So what happens when your mind, you start to get distracted, right? Your eye ain't single, right? And the law says don't look to the left or to the right. Right? All these things happen when you don't present your body a living sacrifice. Right? So you got to mortify the deeds of the flesh, man. What the Apostle Paul said, I die daily. So, when we take the time to, take the time to, be with the Lord, sacrifice our time for the Lord, right? There's things that are pleasing unto us in this flesh. We got things that we would rather do. I should say the flesh rather do, other things that are pleasing to it, But when you present that sacrifice, right, you start mortifying the deeds of the flesh. So the only thing that's left is what, man? The spirit, to work with you, man. Right? It's not that complicated, man. All right? The brain, all right, you train it to do what it wants to do. All right? When you constantly feeding the flesh, when you constantly being reactive and not proactive, if you will, you teach your brain to operate that way, and that's what, man. That's living after the flesh and not the spirit. So again, man, faith without works is dead. You have to put in that work, all right, so that faith could grow in you, all right. And you teach your mind, okay, to operate in a particular discipline, stoic way. Okay. So it says, verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, right, which is this age, right? But in this age, we're living the age of Esau, Edom, okay? The rulers of this world, right? They operate in the left-hand side, okay? They call out to their sorcery, their witchcraft, right? That's conforming to this world. When you accept and associate yourself with this world, right? That's what you conform into this world, the fashion of this world. All right. The beggarly elements. Okay, but it says, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All right, so we gotta transform our mind, renew our mind. Okay, we can't live after the old man. This wisdom has to transform our mind to a righteous man of the Lord, man. Or one that fears Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, one that is constantly trying to please the Lord. You know, one that when he falls short, he gets right back up, because the faith is his his anchor, man. This truth is his anchor, and the only way we could get to that that foundation in the Lord is what, man? Renewing your mind, feeding the spirit. Separating yourself from this world, man. Because what it says, Paul watereth, Apollo planted, or roughly paraphrasing scripture, but who gives increase? Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So, by you watering, by you planting, you're waiting. That's faith, right? You're waiting for Yahweh Hashem Yahushai to give you that growth, that increase. Okay. And the Lord, he says, he is not a what it says in James 5. Actually, James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh, they give it to all men liberally. Right? That wisdom, what? Keeps you in that single mind, right? Wisdom separates you from this world, man. And it makes you a living sacrifice to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All right, because when you restrict yourself from the flesh, that's a sacrifice. And by doing that, right, you eliminate everything that hinders you from growth, right? So that wisdom can dwell in you, man. All right. But if you, what says Wisdom of Solomon, the first chapter, the 4th verse, wisdom should not enter into a malicious soul. Right? The deceit, the maliciousness that's in us, man, we gotta purify it out, man. We gotta, mortify it, so that wisdom can dwell in us. All right? Because all this is a trial. Is a trial right now, man. The real test is gonna come, all right, during Jacob's trouble. But if we proving ourselves now, okay, when Jacob's troubles come, this says the Lord will keep us from that hour of temptation, because we kept the word of his patience. And what's that, man? We suffer for the Lord, right? We we kept that straight gate. We didn't get caught up in the world and its folly. We stood grounded in the Lord, right? And by doing so, our faith increases, man. By our response towards what, affliction. Keeping ourselves single in this thing, single-minded, focused, locked in. You seen the example with Peter, man. When he kept his eyes at the Yahushua, man, he was able to walk on water, man. But once some winds came forth, and once that tribulation came, well, he started to drown. But what the Lord say, you a little faith, man. So when he realized that, well, man, he focused on the Lord, man. He kept his mind towards Yahushua, the author and finisher of our faith. All right, but I'm gonna keep reading here, man. So like, I'm probably rambling a little bit, but just James 1:5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of you, how about Shem Yeshai to give it to all men liberally, and upbraid it not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, right? Wavering meaning doubting. Okay. Meaning, if you ask the Lord for wisdom, and you're not like it tells you in Proverbs, commit your works to the Most High, and He shall establish your thought. Right? If you stay committed to what you ask, right, then the Lord will provide, establish, your way. But if you ask and you're wavering, you're doubting, you're not committed to what you ask, then you're not gonna receive that wisdom that you're praying for. It takes movement, all right, to create energy, man. All right. The brother, I remember the elder brother Ariala from Texas said that, mentioned that in order for you to create energy, the movement has to be, applied. You can't expect an increase if you're not working towards, what you ask for, man. Right? Faith. Everything requires faith, man. But you don't. He mentioned that you don't go into a business, right, thinking it's gonna fail, man. Right? You believe that what you apply yourself is gonna work out, man. But if you don't take the necessary basically actions to get to that goal, then it doesn't matter how much faith you have, man. If you ain't working on it, nothing's gonna happen, man. It's like again, it's like saying you want to open up a restaurant. You believe it's gonna work out, but if you slacking on business, you're not, setting up a good, system so it could work, then that business is gonna fail, man. You slacking, you're not, putting in the work, so it could, work out. That business is gonna fail, man. So, and it's true that the same thing, man. Okay. And the Lord is teaching us again how to be judges and kings in the earth, man. That's what a righteous king does, man. He establishes his people, man. Right? It says a wise judge. What's it? A wise judge. Let me see that. Let me get that scripture. It's a wise king, I believe it is. An Apocrypha. Yeah, this one. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, verse 24. But the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and the wise king is the upholding of the people. Okay, so when you uphold, when you set up order, all right, when you require a standard for the people, man, that's upholding the nation, man, because you're requiring to uphold the Lord, the Lord's commandments and statutes, man, and we have to obey them and follow them, and when it's enforced, all right, via the fear of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, that's the faithful works, man, because you're actually enforcing, all right, what the Lord has required us to obey, and we believe, right? We believe that the wisdom of Yahweh Shem Yahshai is omnipotent, okay. His ways are higher than us. We believe that the Lord, he's omnipotent. So what do? We obey and follow what the Lord has commanded us to do. precept upon precept, line upon line. Okay? So that's the faith that works, man. So I'm going to end it up with Micah 7 and 8. It says, rejoice not against me, O my enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Yahweh shall be a light unto me. Right? And that's the point of working out our own salvation with fear and trembling, man. Because although we at the bottom, we're the tail, not the head. But the Lord, He's restoring back the nation of Israel, and we are being united again by the word of Yahweh Bashem Yashai, and by doing so, right, the Lord is gonna, take off these curses from us, all right, which is prophecy that the nation of Israel will be gathered up again, and we believe that, and we're restoring the breaches thereof. All right, we're being put in order, all right, back again in front of our enemies, man. We are a nation that was spoiled, that was destroyed, disconnected from the Most High. But in the midst of all that, man, we're remembering ourselves, right? And in our captivity, remembering ourselves, and we're being restored back again via this word, and we're taking the action, the work that comes with this faith, man. We're building, the spiritual temple. We're restoring the house of David again, right? And how do we do that? By preaching His word, right? By renewing our mind, presenting ourselves a living sacrifice, and that's how we show forth our faith, man. And the elect is doing that, and by doing so, right, our enemies can rejoice against us, right? Because we're rising back up again. Our people have been set in darkness, but the Lord has shined His light unto his servants, His elect. Okay, and the enemy can't rejoice against us anymore, man. They fear the man of Yahweh Shem Yashai. But the buildup of our faith is gonna give us the stability, all right, when this enemy comes and tries to persecute us, man. Okay, it says the devil knoweth that he has but a short time. Okay, he should come down with great wrath. But our faith, just like the Maccabee brothers, man, and Second Maccabees, the 7th chapter, that's the faith that the Lord is building us up, man, to be able to be faithful unto death, man. All right.